welcome to another FACEHAMMER book review. Today is pre-order day for both the IDNF Deepkin and the Fyreslayers. Hopefully you've tuned into our IDNF review. As you notice, I'm flying solo on this one. Unfortunately, Byron was unable to make the recording. And as we endeavour to get reviews out on the day of pre-order as soon as we can, I thought I might as well record this on my own. So the Fyreslayers, I would probably preface this and say this is more of a patch than an expansion, if you think of it like as in terms of updates go. Obviously, we've seen the new hero that came in Fury the Deep, which we didn't cover, but we will cover that in this because obviously it's in the new battle tome. Firstly, thanks Games Workshop for sending us the battle tomes early so we can get these reviews out to you and talk about all things matched play. So if you want Path to Glory content, hobby content, we don't tend to cover that on these shows. It's literally just going through the rules, talking about combos, synergies, and thing differences and something like that. So I do have a little bit of a treat coming for you. I do have an army list for one of the playtest team, Paul Buckler, who's been playing these guys a lot, with some little notes on why he's taken what he's taken and what it's about. So, but I'll go through the battle tome. It's not a lot to go through. It's quite a small battle tome because it's not a small range, and talk about the new rules. So if you're a long-standing Fyreslayers player, hopefully there's some stuff in here for you. I'll preface this as well and say that I don't really play Fyreslayers. I've never really been interested in them, so I don't know a lot of their rules. I only know that back in AOS 2, before 3 dropped, there was a really oppressive army with a big half-guard Berserker block, which was kind of not very fun to play against, and I had the misfortune of playing that several times. Other than that, we'll crack into it and we'll talk about the new Fyreslayers battle tome. Hopefully it will get you excited, particularly for Magmadross, which seemed to be like the new hotness in the book, which is good because they're actually a bit more fun to play than the Foot Sloggers. But if you like your Dwarden and you like your Slayers of old, then this battle tome is probably for you. And let's just get into it without further ado. So I thought to start off, we'll just go through the allegiance abilities. So obviously, you've got your lodges, which is like your extra keyword with your extra rules, which you've got your Vostag, your Greyford, your Hemdo, and your Lofnir. So these are kind of the same if you're familiar with Fyreslayers in terms of theme, but they have changed. Now, one of the things that's quite interesting with the Fyreslayers, they've got this command ability, which is this fierce counter attack. Uses at the start of the enemy combat phase. The unit that receives the command must be Auric, Halfguard, Berserkers, or Volkite. That is within 3 of an enemy unit that made a charge move and not within 3 of enemy units that have not made a charge move. So if you're running in combat and something else joins in, you can't use it. You can only do it once per battle on each unit, but it does make the enemy strike last. So it's quite powerful because that should almost be enough to give the advantage in the game if you use that cleverly. The only issue with it, obviously, it's only your Half-Guard Berserkers and Volkite Berserkers keyworded, so you're not going to have, if you've got these big blobs of infantry, then it's quite good. The other issue you got is that if an enemy roars at you or spends something that stops you using command abilities, like, you know, the Lord of Afflictions with the can't use command abilities aura, then that's going to stop your allegiance ability kicking in. So I think it automatically starts leaning you into taking half Hunters of the Halfland formation, which then probably means you're more into Warlord than you are into 1-drop. And it is a reactionary command ability, but obviously if someone wants to like aggro you with dragons or a Maw Crusher, it's quite good because you can go first, and you know, Half-Guard Berserkers are no joke. So yeah, not too bad. You've also got the Grimwrath Oaths, so I think these made an appearance in the Broken Realms. So it says at the start of the first battle round, so obviously you can adapt this depending on what's on the table. You can pick one following oath for Grimwrath Berserkers to swear that apply to the end of the battle. If you've got more than one, you cannot pick the same oath more than once. So you have the I will cut down the priests. If the target is a priest, I guess this means if the target of attacks is a priest that does not have the Fyreslayer keyword, add 1 to hit and wound rolls made by this unit and add 1 to the damage by those attacks. So it's situational. Grimwrath Berserkers, I don't know if you'll even see many of them on the table. There aren't that many priests. If you're in combat with a priest, you probably don't need the help to kill it. You know, I'm pretty sure the Skink Priest won't put up much of a fight anyway. I think there are some priests which are a little bit more chunkier, a little bit more hard to kill. So it might come into effect there. But again, it's very situational with your small, slow guy getting into combat with this thing. So you've got, I will guard them in my life. You can pick one Auric half guard or half guard berserkers unit on the battlefield as a retinue of an Auric rune father or Auric rune son. So you can pick this unit to be that unit's retinue. So there's like a rule where you pick a character. I'll go into that later. So instead of picking basically a rune father, rune son, you can pick this unit. So it just means he can be the bodyguard, I guess. Or it can be his retinue, I should say. I think it allows you to bounce wounds. I'll check it when I get there. You've got I will let nothing stand in my way. So the unit can run and charge. In addition, you can reroll run and charge rolls. That's very useful because obviously it's slow. So running and charging and re-rolling it is great. So it's probably going to be one of the stellar picks here. You've got I'll prove his might to our allies. You can add one to hit and wound rolls for attacks made by this unit if it's in 12 of any friendly allied units. Again, allies will be a thing for Fyreslayers because the book's so I say it's so linear in terms of what you've got access to. You've got guys on foot and you've got magma dross, basically. Yeah, some might have some guns, but essentially your allies can be super important, which we'll get onto. And you'll see Stormcast allies, dragons are a thing. You know, put 2 Stormdrake Guard as your allies. Adds so much depth to the army, gives you reach, gives you range attacks, gives you alpha capability. I can pretty much see them being in every Fyreslayers list that wants to be competitive. So yeah, and then obviously you've got to be within 12 of that unit, and if it's across the other side of the board, you're probably not going to be. So again, it's pretty situational. I will not be stopped. This unit has a 6-up ward. If it's within 3 inches of enemy units, it has a 5-up ward. Yeah, it's okay. I would have liked to have seen that to be like a 4 or a 3-up ward. But you know, it's still a ward save, so it's not too bad. And then he's got the amount of a hit roll for an attack is a 6. This is a mortal wound in addition. So they've got all these extra rules. When we talk about the Grime Berserker, I'll probably go over these a little bit more. Obviously, it's a bit weird that they're in the Allegiance, not on the War Scroll, but I guess that stops you allying him in and using these rules if he's not in a Fyreslayer army. So I don't know. I'm not sure you'll be taking him, honestly. So you've got the Urgold runes. So these are still the main feature of the Fyreslayers. So at the start of your hero phase, activate one of the 6 Urgold runes. State which will be activated by activation. Roll 1 to 5. You get standard effect. On a 6, you get the enhanced effect. Last until your next hero phase. Can only do once per battle. Only one can be done at the same time. Once you've used a rune, you can choose a new one to activate in your next hero phase. Can't use the same one again. So, Rune of Fury, add 1 to hit rolls. Enhanced, add 1 to attacks. Rune of Farsight, add 1 to hit rolls for throwing axes. Enhanced, add 1 to wound rolls made by throwing axes. That's not a very good one. You might use that turn 1 if you expect to be charged, because you could stand and shoot. So unleash hell with those. Rune of Searing Heat, if modified wound roll of an attack is a 6. There's a mortal wounded addition. And the enhanced effect is roll a dice for each unit within 3 of an enemy Fyreslayers unit. On a 2+, they take a mortal wound. That's more later on when you're in protracted combat. Awaken Steel, improve the rend by 1. Enhanced effect, improve the rend by a further 1. So it's up to 2 rend. Obviously, that's quite powerful in the turn you're being aggressive. If you're playing anyone who has good armor saves. Then you've got the Rune of Fiery Determination. Fyreslayers ward 6-up. Enhanced is they have a 5-up ward. Again, it's quite good. Relentless Zeal, add 2 to the move. Enhanced effect, add 2 to charge rolls. So good for getting across the table. Obviously, you can't always guarantee the enhanced effect. There are ways to buff that, which we'll get onto. They've got this new rule, which is the Blaze of Fury, which is a heroic action. So start of your hero phase, you can't use it in the enemy's turn. You carry out this heroic action with a Fyreslayer's hero instead of any other heroic action you may carry out with that hero. So you pick a Fyreslayer's hero. To the end of your turn, the enhanced effect of the rune that is activated applies to that hero, regardless of the activation roll. You cannot carry out this heroic action with the same hero more than once in the same battle. So this is quite good if you really want the extra rend on that crucial turn, or you really want that 5-up ward. Again, you can't really use it to react to the enemy. So like if it's because you got to do it in your turn, so it's not like they could go, oh, I'll do bring it down, and you go, right, I'm going to do Blaze of Fury, increase my Rune of Fiery Determination to a 5-up ward. No, but it does allow you to use it in an aggressive way, where you say, oh, okay, well, we've got our Rune of Awakened Steel. I'm going to use that. I didn't get the enhanced effect. I use my heroic action to make sure I'm at Rend 2. Obviously, you might rather do Best Day Ever or something else, or you might save that for their go, because not often with Best Day, I don't use it when I'm attacking. I use it in the next turn when they're counter-attacking, because I generally don't die on the turn you commit your big hero to something, because you've planned to go in there, so your odds on you should survive that turn. Doesn't always happen, but there you go. That's Warhammer. So yeah, I mean, that's quite cool. It's nice because you can guarantee that thing. It's only on that hero. It's once per battle per hero. So it's limited, but it's not too bad. So you've got command traits. So Uric, Rune Father, and Rune Son only. So you've got Fury, the Fyreslayer, add 1 to charge rolls for friendly Fyreslayer units wholly within 18. That's actually really good. It's a big bubble. It's nice because it affects everyone. It's just passive, doesn't cost anything. +1 to charge means you're not going to double 1 to charge 3 inches away and fail it. You know, you're slow. You want to get into combat. That's where you do your damage. More chances of getting into combat is better. You know, like if you're using anything like the pop-up from the ground, 9 away, a 9-inch charge or an 8-inch charge. 8 is much easier to roll than a 9. So it's quite nice. It does swing the odds quite a bit. Obviously, you can still use the reroll if you need to. So 8 with a reroll is better than 9 with a reroll. They're small margins, but sometimes small margins count. So it's not a bad trait, honestly. You've got the Blood of the Berserker. So once per battle in the combat phase, after this fought for the first time, you can say they will go berserk. The general can fight for a second time in that phase and the strike last effect. So just going back to what I was just saying, generally when you commit your big hero, they don't die in that turn, but they not kill what they're fighting. You get another go. Now, this is probably going to be the go-to Rune Father or Magmadroth. Blood of the Berserker is probably going to be in every list, purely because of how powerful that is. You can also do quite a lot of shenanigans with that. So you can charge a screen and kill it, pop the Blood of the Berserker, knowing that you're piling and reach, you can hit the thing you actually want to hit. They can't hit you because they're not within 3 inches of you. So when the last effect goes, you pile into range and hit because you made a charge. You can still pile in even if not within 3 of an enemy. So actually, you can use this in very clever ways to kill stuff that you in the way of the thing you actually want to kill. And believe you me, when you see the combat profile of a Rune Father or Magmadroth and what they can do, you will kill stuff when you charge it. It is that pokey, especially if you pop your rune, you get your extra rend. You're going to go in, you know, extra damage if you want to do that way. I mean, it's nasty, okay? You got the Spirit of Grim then, and this one is also quite good. So you get enhanced effects on a 5-up rather than a 6. If you're not taking a super combat hero, you know, you're not going for the big Magmadroth killing machine. This is actually really solid, like, because it doubles the odds of getting enhanced runes, and it affects your whole army. So it sounds a little bit like meh, but actually you're doubling the odds of getting enhanced runes, and those enhanced runes are extremely powerful. It's definitely one to consider. Then you've got the leader of the Jurad Zal, I don't know you say that. If the generals on the battlefield, Juradin allied units are treated as they have the Fyreslayer's keyword for the purpose of gold runes. So if you take Kharadron Overlord allies or some cities Juradin allies, they get the runes. So obviously one of the things to note with Fyreslayers with shooting is that a lot of this adds melee weapons. So melee weapons rend, not shooting. If it's shooting, that would be gross. It doesn't. So, but Rune of Farsight is attacks for throwing axes. So again, that won't affect your allies. You add 1 to hit rolls for attacks, maybe melee weapons. So obviously it's mostly melee. So a lot of this won't really enhance shooting if you take like Kharadron Overlord allies, and they're generally good at shooting. So yeah, I mean, I can't really. The first three are good. I think Blooded Berserker would be in most lists because it's cool to fight multiple times with your big hero in the turn that you have your rune effect. You've used your heroic action, get your extra rend. You're going twice, you know, blah blah blah. It's going to be great. It's fun, so it's more fun than the others. They're a bit boring, but from a tournament point of view, these two, the Fury, the Fyreslayer, Spirit, the Grimnar, reduce the odds of, increase the odds of things going your way and reduce the odds of it not happening. So you kind of, over 5 games, they probably were more beneficial than this one, but this one's cool. So this is going to be, the rule of cool, it's probably going to be taken. Then you've got Magmic Empowerments, which are priests only. So if you don't have a Rune Son or Rune Father general, then these would be here. So again, these aren't bad. You've got Ashbeard. There's two prayers from Zargrim Blessing Prayer Scripture instead of one, so an extra prayer. Master Priest, once the battle start your hero phase, if you're on the battlefield, you can activate one Urgold rune that has already been activated instead of one that has not yet been activated. So you can get the same rune twice. Again, pretty nuts. Like if you're designing a list around a certain combo and it's really important for you to have that ward or for 2 returns in a row, or you really want to have that, you know, extra rend, whatever, but you have the flexibility to do that, or even if you want the movement later on, it's there. So again, quite powerful, but you know, it's situational because you might not need it. Then you've got Avatar of Volcatrix. This one's quite unusual. So if he is slain and there isn't a Molten Infernoth invocation under your control, before removing the general, you can set up a Molten Infernoth within 6 of this general. If you do not have a Molten Infernoth in your army, this new Molten Infernoth is added to your army. So after the invocation has been set up, remove the general from play and then apply the effects of the Molten Infernoth's Burning Tide ability. If there's a general slain and there is a Molten Infernoth under your command, remove this general from play and then apply the effects of its Burning Tide ability as if it's just been set up. So effectively, that means if you've got one up, you can immediately do its thing, which is move, do damage. We'll cover it later. Or if you don't have one, and even if you didn't buy it in your army list, when he dies, you can set one up. It's a bit quirky. It's cool. Will you take it in match play? Probably not. There are other ones that are much better. But if you were playing a narrative event or you just thought it'd be kind of funky, you could take it, you know. It's a shame it's a trait and not an artifact. If it's an artifact, it'd be quite cool. You might see a bit more. Artifacts of power. So we've got Heirlooms of the Lodge. So this is Rune Fathers and Rune Sons only. You've got Master Rune of Unbreakable Resolve. Once per battle, start of a phase, you can say they will use their Master Rune. They have a free up ward until the end of the phase. So you see the combo already. You've got the heroic action for the enhanced effect. You've got the fight twice, but you go last. And you've got the rune for a free up ward save. So you're definitely going to survive, right? Well, no definites in Warhammer, but you should. You go twice. It's pretty good. It's a good combo. If someone wants to alpha shoot you or alpha strike you, like, they charge you with their big dragon unit, or they do bring it down or kill the warlord, and you go, I have a free up ward save then. And then, because it's a start of a phase. So you can use it in the enemy shooting phase, you can use it in the combat phase. So denying a battle tactic as a reactionary thing that you don't have to declare until a start of a phase is really strong. Like really, really strong, because that might swing the game in your favor, because if they fail a battle tactic, that's 2 points, especially 3 points they're not getting. So if they did bring it down and they're doing it with a monster on your Magma Droth, suddenly they get bring it down, they get kill a monster, they get did it with a monster, so it's 4 points they're not getting in the scenario. If you don't get 4 points in the scenario, that's probably going to swing the game in your favor. Like, that's massive. That's a massive swing. I can't look past that. Is such a good artifact. Honestly, that is amazing. You've got the Fiery Ring, obviously out for Vindaloo the night before. So once per battle in your shooting phase, you can pick an enemy within 6 of the bear and roll a dice on a 2+ text d6 mortal wounds. I mean, it's once per battle and you roll a 1, you're going to feel really, really gutted, right? I mean, if it was every phase, it'd be great, But obviously, I don't think that'll see roll. So magnetized runes, add 2 to charge rolls, solid. Obviously, that probably stacks with the command trait, so that's +3. So obviously, if you're trying to bring them up from the ground to do an alpha strike, you could do that. +3 charge, it's pretty good. Axe of Grimnar, pick one of the bear's many weapons, improve the rend by 1 and add 1 to the damage. Again, great on a Rune Father. It's a damage-free weapon, goes up to damage 4. Personally, I like the Unbreakable Resolve. I think if you have multiple artifacts, I'll have a non-general with the Axe of Grimnar, and I'll probably have a general with the Unbreakable Resolve, purely because of the battle tactic denial that I was talking about. I think people will lean into the aggressive one, but I think the ward save's probably better. Yeah, 3-up ward is solid. You know, even if you've got like Nagash with 8 bolts going in, having a 3-up ward probably means you're going to survive that, you know. You've got the Ash Cloud rune. This is the artifacts for priests only. So once per battle, at the start of the enemy hero phase, you can say the bearer will cool down the column of soot. Till the end of that phase, units holding within 12 are not visible to enemy units attempting to cast a spell. If that was shooting phase, I would love that, but it's hero phase are very situational, that there's spells that are longer than 12-inch range that, you know, that says units holding within 12 of the bearer, so they could be right next to them, but they can't see them. It's so situational. Like, I mean, it's some magic protection, which you don't really have any unbinds. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. Then you've got the volatile brazier. So when the bearer attempts to summon an invocation, reroll chanting rolls for the bearer, and the range of the prayer is doubled. If you're playing around the incantations, that's not a bad one as a secondary artifact. You could see that, but the next one, if you're playing a Magma Droth heavy list, which I think will be the popular army, is the Droth Helm. Add 1 to wound rolls made with claws and horns by friendly Magma Droths wholly within 12 of the bearer. I personally think if I was playing Fyreslayers, I could only play Lofnir Magma Droth 6 models because it's fun. I don't really like the infantry models, and I don't think I'd want to play them. It doesn't mean they can't play them, but for me personally, so the Droth Helm would see play. For me, it'd be the Droth Helm and probably the Rune of Unbreakable Resolve, and sometimes the Axe of Grimnar. I'd probably try and take Warlord. Obviously, to take Warlord, I'd have to actually have some foot heroes, so, you know, I might take a couple priests on foot or something, maybe one of the digger guys, and drop one of the Magma Droths, so have like less Magma Droth. Purely to get unlock their artifact, because the artifacts are so good. Then you've got Relics of the Feared, which are Fyreslayers heroes anyway, so this is basically anyone. You've got the Draft of Magmalt Ale. Once the battle starts the combat phase, you can drink their ale, double the attacks of the Bailey's melee weapon. Again, great. I mean, double attacks, not to be sniffed at. It's almost like going twice with half the model, so there you go. You've got the Null Sidian icon, the old favourite. So give it to a battlesmith. Each time a friendly Fyreslayer on within 12 of the bearer is affected by a spell or the abilities of an endless spell, on a 4-up, ignore the effects of the spell. It's actually really powerful. A 4-up denial on spells is way more useful than you think. But it's hard to find the spots for these because there's so many good ones. So you'll probably be like, well, I don't think I'll take that. I think that depends on the meta. If there's an army that really, really gives you issues that is very magic heavy, you know, if Teclis and Nagash suddenly come back into flavor of the month, then you might take that more. But at the moment, I don't see it being taken too much. So you've got the Demon Slayer. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. Ward rolls cannot be made for wounds and mortal wounds caused by attacks made by this weapon. So again, that's awesome. I mean, no saves. It's like the sword in the OBR book that you get if you play Null Myriad. Easily overlooked because your damage potential goes through the roof. If you take, you take the one that seems sexier, right? +1 rem, +1 damage, but they've only got to make a 5-up save or a 6-up save, and then one of the 5-up wards, and suddenly you're reducing your damage by a lot. This just stops it. You've got high rend anyway, so it's like ward rolls cannot be made. So if you got anything that's got a decent ward save, you just cut straight through it. So I know it's situational, but sometimes this is better than going twice or having extra rend and damage on your weapon, because it actually just all goes through, because the rend gets through the armor and then just goes straight through the ward. So situational. With the changes to the Amulet of Destiny, it's probably not as sexy as it used to be, because the Amulet of Destiny went to a 5 to a 6 up, so wards are less prevalently impactful if your damage goes through. But it's still cool. I mean, like I like it, but it's not quite as good as the OBR one, because it's not armor saves as well. If it was no saves of any kind, no armor saves, no ward saves, it would be awesome, but it's not. So unfortunately, I misread that. I thought it was. So then you got your prayers. So you've got the Zaro Grim Blessings, so Fyreslayer priests, including unique. You got the Prayer of Ash. Its answer on a 4 range of 18. Pick a friendly Fyreslayer unit wholly within range invisible to the channel. Subtract 1 wound rolls for attack the target unit to start your next hero phase. So any Fyreslayer. Obviously, you can put a priest on a Magmadroth. So if you play a Magmadroth army, it's pretty cool. It's on a 4, so it's 50-50. So you could do it, you could not. Quite powerful if it goes off. -1 to wounds, nothing to be sniffed at. It's quite hard to buff wound rolls, so I like that one a lot. You got Ember Storm. It's on a 3, range of 18. So you got to have Half-Guard Berserkers or Volkite Berserkers. A unit can run and charge. So again, if you're playing infantry, this is probably a must-take. If you've got the bonuses to run and charges from the rune. Yeah, so Ember Storm is good if you're running those units. If you're not, don't take it. The Prayer of Grimnir's Fury is a free answer value as range of 12. Pick a friendly Fyreslayer's hero that does not have a mount, so you can't use it on Magmadross, that's within 3 of an enemy unit. That hero can fight. So you can fight in the hero phase, only with a foot hero. If you're playing an infantry-based army, you can do something cool, like have your Rune Father with his bodyguard, his retinue, in amongst the retinue. He's got good reach. He's got a 3-inch reach, I think, with his latchkey axe. And then you can use this prayer, fight in the hero phase with him. He's going to do loads of damage. They can't really hit him because they can't get near him. So you could have these heroes wrapped in infantry that are quite resilient, and he's just swinging away from the prayer. So you get extra activations, which is always good. Situational, but you could build a strategy around it. So I think it's quite cool. Then you got the Wrath of Volcatrix. It's answer on a 3, range of 12. Pick a friendly Magmadroth within range. So the start of your next hero phase, use the top row of its damage regardless of how many wounds. Obviously, at the moment, you've got the command ability to fight at your top profile. It's not that useful, but you never know. It might be useful. So it's quite good as well, because it's for your movement, because I think the other one is only combat phase, so it does have a use. I think their movement degrades. Mount traits. So you can pick mount traits for your Magmadroths. So you've got the Flame Scale Youngblood. So if you carry out a Stomp with this unit, and the enemy unit you picked suffers any mortal wounds, they take an additional 3 mortal wounds. Pretty strong. You could do up to 6 mortals. Obviously, you only can pick one of these, unless you're playing Lofnir, which we'll get into, or you take extra enhancements. But unlocking Warlord is difficult. You got Lava Tongue Adult. When determining attacks of the unit's warring fire stream, attacks characteristic of less than 5 is treated as being 5. So it's to do with if you're shooting a single target, it makes the breath more reliable. We'll talk about that in a minute. The Coal Heart Ancient. If this unit is the target of an attack with a melee weapon, subtract 1 from damage to a minimum of 1. This will be the auto pick. This will be the one you take. Purely because it's more damage mitigation on your big hero. If you take another one, it's because you've got access to it. You'll take to flavor whichever one you like. I actually really think this is strong. You've got this, you've got the -1 to wound prayer, you've got the ward you could do once per battle. You can really make a Magmadroth super tanky, and it does so much damage. And like literally Magmadroth going in, pinning stuff, fighting the world. It's pretty cool. I've seen it in effect in a playtest game. It definitely was impactful, this combo, if you get it off. We go into lodges. So try and cover these. So you've got the Vostarg. So you get add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Vostarg Volkite Berserkers that charged in the same turn. +1 hit, +1 to wound. It's not rubbish. I mean, it's quite a good buff. I think they're 4s and 4s. Let me just double check that. I can do this with the book because it's going to be easier. So again, like, I do get confused with the units because they are all very similar to me. So Volkite Berserkers are kind of your generic guys. They're freeze and freeze. So there'd be 2s and 2s with their hand axes. So you can't, that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I don't know if it's worth taking the whole thing. But, you know, it's a small buff. I mean, we saw it with the IDNF book that the sort of the lodges or the enclaves are kind of like mini buffs with some exceptions. So Greyfeared, add 1 to wounds of friendly heroes that do not have a mount. In addition, you can pick 2 additional artifacts and give them to 2 additional heroes that do not have a mount. So we talked about the infantry list. We talked about some of the combos with the artifacts. Having 3 artifacts, if you're taking lots of Grim Berserkers or Rune Fathers in amongst your men, you can have 3 artifacts without taking Warlord. I mean, that's strong because it's 2 additional artifacts. So that's, and you could still have a Garda Magmadroth with an artifact because you could take your normal one on the Magmadroth and your 2 foot heroes, you could give them that. And then if you've got a Magmadroth and 2 foot heroes, and a unit, if you don't have a unit, you could say, well, you know, it's Command Entourage if you want all units to be in Hunters of the Halfland, or you can immediately go Warlord, so you could have another enhancement, so you could have 4 artifacts. There is definitely some play with this. I think that as you write lists, you start looking at the artifacts that we said they're very powerful. I think there's some play here using Priest, activated hero phase, using foot heroes, using your men as basically character protection bubbles and delivery systems. So yeah, I think Greyfeared does have some play. You got the Hermdar, which is if a friendly Hermdar unit is wholly within enemy territory or wholly within 12 an objective, fails a battle shock half the number of models that flee, rounding up. Bit situational. It's not immune to battle shock anymore. What it does do is it does unlock half guard berserkers as battle line if you've got a priest general. So it does stop you taking the super Auric Rune Father, Rune Son command traits, but there is some good command traits as a priest. We've seen those. So I think if you want half guard berserkers as battle line, then Hermdar will be where you go because it's what it does. It's not the auto pick anymore. It used to be auto pick because it was the thing that gave you the strike first effect and, you know, fight twice and all that. And like, you know, that was the list in AOS 2. Because of the way command abilities can't be stacked in AOS 3, that kind of went away. I don't know. I mean, I think you might take it, but I don't think it's the auto pick. I actually quite like Greyfeared for it. In my head, I think that's some good list operations there. You can do some good things. And I mentioned already, Lofnir is cool because basically you get to add 2 to wounds of friendly Lofnir Magmadroths. Up to 3 Magmadroths can be given a different mount trait, so you can have all the mount traits. Obviously can't duplicate those, but pretty cool that you can have each one, which is the Stomp, the Breath, and the Damage Reduction, which is the good one. It also makes Magmadroth's battle line, so it allows you to unlock things like, you know, just have an all Magmadroth army. So very cool if you want to do that. So you could take, I think you could take 6 Magmadroths, which is like the Rune Father, the Battle Priest, or whatever it is, the Rune Son, and then like the Rune Sons become battle lines. So you take like 3 of those, the Rune Father, and then 2 other heroes on there, or any combination of. So yeah, pretty good if you like Magmadroths. Cool model. So that's a good lodge. Then we go straight into our grand strategies. So again, these normally are fringe. Maybe we take them if we're feeling characterful, but the generic ones are better. So you've got guarded lineage. When the battle ends, if you have one friendly Auric rune father and one or more friendly Auric rune sons on the battlefield, so that means keep 2 heroes. So obviously, like, you could just do monsters if they're all magma drops, or you could do, you know, you don't need to worry too much about that. Defend the lodge. When the battle ends, you complete this ground strategy. No enemy units wholly within your territory. If that's the case, you're probably winning anyway. Some scenarios have really favorable territories, which are quite hard to fit in. But then if you're playing against Nurgle, they're going to want to be in your territory for contagion points. So, and if they know that is, it's easy to run a unit in on the last turn. I don't like that one. I think some boards have massive territories and you're not going to be able to stop that. Normally, grand strategy points come into play when the game's close. Otherwise, you just don't care about it. So I don't think you would take that because it's too risky. Overtakers and Skullbreakers. You complete this grand strategy if you complete at least 4 battle tactics, and every battle tactic you completed was from the Oaths of Battle list. So you basically have to do 4 out of the 5 from this book and do them all. Again, no. Restricts you too much. I haven't looked at them yet, but I'm just going to say no. A Master of the Forge. If there are any invocations on your command on the battlefield. Again, it's a dice roll. If you fail the dice roll, you fail your grand strategy. Don't like that. So I just stick to the battle line. Keep a hero alive or monster alive. Keep your general alive. Those kind of ones, they're a lot easier. I can't see them being used. Obviously, caveat that with if they, because they're in the current battle pack, who knows in the future. Oaths of Battle. So these are your battle tactics. So you've got Settle a Grudge. Each time a friendly unit is destroyed by wounds caused by an attack made by, make a note of the enemy unit that made the attack in the Book of Grudges. Okay, it's a bit thematic. When you pick this battle tactic, pick one of those enemy units that is still on the battlefield. You complete this tactic if that unit is destroyed during this turn. Actually quite good, because you could, they charge you, they kill something, you counter charge, you kill it. If you've got screen or you've got like an infantry unit or something, so, and then you can, it doesn't say you have to kill it with a particular unit, so it's basically just kill an enemy unit that killed one of your stuff in the game. So it's, I think that's a fairly good one. I can see that being played, actually. Beastslayer, pick an enemy monster and one friendly hero. Complete this tactic if that monster is slain by attacks made by that hero. So obviously we talked about the Mega Killy Magma Drop hero. It's doable. I mean, obviously, if you got pick an enemy monster, you're probably using Bring It Down because you get bonus points. But if you've already burnt Bring It Down, again, you know, and you're like, oh god, I didn't kill it, or I've got another monster to deal with, and you've already, and they're not the Warlord, it could be used. Obviously, we don't know if those monster kill ones will go away as well. So, you know, when we move out of Gur, so yeah, we'll see. Not. It's a good one to have in your army book. Grimnir knows no mercy. Complete his tactic end of turn. Any friendly Volkite Berserkers on the battlefield, and all of them are within 3 of enemy units. You could do that fairly easy. If you only have 1 unit of Volkite Berserkers in your army, so which is possible by unlocking another battle line. I'm not sure. It again, it relies on charging. It relies on them not being killed. You know, it might do it. I mean, it's if you're in the situation where you've only got 1 unit left, you're going to charge something. You're probably not going to kill it, and you're just going to sit there. Then why not? Easy done. Honorable Death. Pick a friendly hero. You complete this tactic if that hero is slain during the turn, and any more models were also slain by wounds caused by the hero during this turn. So if you want to like send your Slayer in for a Slayer death, kill something, then get killed back, too dicey for me. Too many ifs. There's 2 things. I don't like it. I don't think it's reliable enough to pick it. Seize by Force. Bits tactic only if you control fewer objectives than your opponent, which fairly does happen quite a lot, especially if they go first. You complete this tactic if you control more objectives than your opponent at the end of the turn. Great one. I think that's great. I mean, like, you know, just nice to have that, because generally, you know, if there's 1 objective or there's 2 in the middle and they've got 3 objectives and you've got 1, then you go in and take back those 2 in the middle, then suddenly you complete that. I know you've got the other one to control 2 objectives not inside your territory, but you could do that later. So you could do this when you take them back and then do the next one the next turn. So you win games by playing objectives. A battle tactic around objectives is always a good one, because you're trying to do the same thing. You're not trying to do 2 different things. Like, you're not trying to kill something and control an objective. You're just trying to control an objective. So leaning into that, I think that's a good one. You know, you could also game this a little bit. Like if you're playing a mission where, because you capture objectives at the start of the game, so even your home ones, so you could intentionally not deploy on them and not have any, and they've got one, and then you just go, right, now I'll move on to my ones. Now I've got more than you, because let's say, for example, there's a mission where you've got 2 or 3 on you on the edge of your deployment zone. You've somehow gamed in a battle regiment, or you outdrop your opponent. You deploy out of range, so you don't cap them, and then so basically, you do control fewer than your opponent if they've capped theirs, and then you just move on to your home ones and you cap it. So you could play that one. I mean, that's an easy turn 1. I mean, there's lots of easy turn 1 ones, but it's a bit situational. But again, it's still great because you're picking objectives, like I said. So anyway, Ignominious Death. Pick one enemy hero. You can pick the tactic if that hero is slain by wounds caused by an attack made by a Fyreslayer throwing axe during this turn. No. Let's not do that. Too dicey. Don't like it. I mean, if you're stuck and they've got a hero on like a wound and you've got a bunch of guys with axes, sure. But even then, like they're 4s and 4s with no rend. I don't want to risk that. I mean, it's thematic. It could be used if they charge you. No, because it's just be doing your go. So no, just no. Don't like that one. That's very random. I won't pick that one. And we are into the War Scrolls. So we talked about him already. We've got Big Daddy on the Magmadroth. His movement 12, it does degrade, so that use the top profile would be quite useful. 16 wounds, 4 up save, bravery of 8. He's got a Fyreslayer for an axe. Yeah, okay. 4s, 1 rend, 1 damage. We don't care. Roaring Firestream, so 9-inch range. And the attacks is equal to the number of models in the target unit to a maximum of 10. So this was what we talked about. If they have 1 model, it'd be 1 attack. But if you've got the trait, it'd be 5. In addition, at the end of your shooting phase, if the units did not make a fire stream attack, you can say the Inferno is raging. If it's raging, improve the rend of its fire stream by 2. After the next attack, it's no longer raging. So they can spend a turn building up that fire to turn it into a rend-free shot. So they hit on a 2, wound on a 3, it would be rend 1 or rend 3, damage of 1. So in the first turn, if you're not in range to shoot and you just build the Inferno up, and it's quite nice because it says at the end of your shooting phase if you did not make an attack. So it doesn't mean you could run and do that because you're not doing instead of attacking. So you didn't have the option to attack. You just build the fire up as you run, and if you run, you can't shoot. So it's probably quite good in the first turn. Or your Magmadroths power up their breath weapons, and then the next turn it's going to be pretty devastating. They've got the Lashing Tail, so at the end of the combat phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches. If the roll is equal to or less the number of models in that unit, you take D3 mortal wounds. Again, good against hordes. Breath's good against hordes. Then you got the Volcanic Blood. Roll a dice each time a wound is caused by an attack made by a melee weapon is allocated on a 4+, the attacking unit takes a mortal wound. So it can speak the difference, because like if you're in a close fight and they're, you could chip a couple wounds off, it could make a difference between you killing them or not. You've got Lord of the Lodge. Once per battle, at the start of your combat phase, you can pick 1 friendly unit on the battlefield with this ability to unleash the Wrath of Grimnir. If you do, until the end of that phase, add 1 to the attacks of melee weapons used by friendly Fyreslayer units while they're wholly within 12 of this unit. So, +1 attack, once per battle. It is not a command ability. So, I quite like the fact that you can pop this in your big turn. We talked about going twice. We talked about the extra damage. We talked about the activated rune. He could be an absolute beat stick because his Latchkey Grand Axe is 3-inch reach, 4 attacks, freeze, rend 1 damage 3. This could be 5 attacks, 2s, rend 3, damage 4. Or I think we've rend 4 actually, because I think the artifact gives you +1 rend, +1 damage. I mean, you can really, really power this guy up. Yeah. Then you've got 3 attacks from the beast itself. 4s, 2s, rend 2 damage D3, and then you've got 6 claws and horns which go down, freeze, rend 1 damage 2. So it's not like super damaging, But with the breath weapon, with the tail, with the mortal wound bounce, with the guard on the back, with the extra activations, with the commander, you can do some really impactful damage when this guy goes in. Think of it as almost like they're not quite a Maw Crusher, but they're like, or like a dragon, but they're almost like just there. The guy on top hits like a truck. I mean, he's great. Yeah, and all the Magma Drops are basically the same. So they're all the same. The difference is the riders. So I'm not going to go through all the Magma Drop stuff again. I mean, obviously, like 4-up save is not a 3-up save. It doesn't have a ward. So they're quite squishy. That's why I quite like the 3-up ward artifact. Auric Rune Sun. So he has one of the following: has a Wormslayer Javelin or an Ancestral War Axe. If he's got the Javelin, he gets a shot attack, range attack at 12 inches, which is 4's freeze, rend 2, damage D3, which is pretty good. Same rules again. The only difference is he has the Vying for Glory rule. It's still got 16 wounds. So if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by this unit targets a monsters of 6, cause a number of mortal wounds to the target equal to the weapon's damage characteristic, and the attack sequence ends. There's no effect on the mounts. It's only the rider. If you've got the Ancestral War Axe, it's 5 attacks, freeze, rend 1, damage 2. So it's 5 dice, any 6s, do mortals. You know, and the attack sequence ends, so it's not an addition. The Wormslayer Javelin, 2-inch reach, which is important. 3 attacks, 4's freeze, rend 2, damage D3, and you get the range attack. I quite like the Javelin, just because I quite like the poke on the range. I like the fact it's got rend of 2. I like the fact it's, you know, got the extra reach. It only hits on a 4, which is a little bit disappointing. So, but it's up to you. I personally probably lean towards the Javelin. I think they're much of a muchness. I think they're both good. Obviously, if you roll a 6 to hit with the Javelin, you still get the D3 mortals go through. Yeah, so Auric Rune Sun on a Magma Drop. So, and oh, I should say points, really, shouldn't I? That would help. So, points for the let me get this in front of me. Sorry for the noise. So the Rune Father on Magma Drop is 360 points, so he's quite a good buy. And the Rune Sun is 320. Now the Rune Sun is what becomes Battle Line. So if you're playing Lofnir, the Rune Sun is a Battle Line unit. So it's a Battle Line unit that's pretty good. I think for what you get with these, they're quite cheap. Obviously the Rune Smiter on Magma Drop is quite cool because he is a priest, so you get access to the prayers. Again, all the rules exactly the same. He's got a latch axe, which is 2 attacks, 4's freeze, no rend, damage 2. So his combat profile's the worst, but you get runic empowerment. It's a prayer, an answer value of 3, range of 12. If he's carrying a runic iron, it's 18, which I guess you always will do, unless you've got a, if it carries one of the following: runic iron or forge key. Okay, so you've got 2 different choices. So if he's got a runic iron, it's 18. If he's carrying a forge key, you can reroll the chancing roll. Okay, so the key lets you reroll. The iron gives you extra range. You pick one Fyreslayer unit wholly within range, visible to the channel, add 1 to wound rolls. So it's just +1 to wound. It's a Fyreslayer unit, so you can do it on your Rune Father. You get +1 to wound that way. So yeah, pretty good. Probably go for the reroll more than the range, because you're probably going to be keeping up with stuff because he's fast. So I'd probably take the reroll over the range. So yeah, but he's awesome. He also gives you access to prayers from the lore. You know, really cool. Obviously less in combat power, but you want some of these prayers. They're very powerful. They're very powerful. So probably want 2 of these. I think 2 of these, a Rune Father and 3 Rune Sons, is 2,000 points on the nose. And that gives you your Lofnir army. And he is a Rune Smiter. Okay, I'm going to get the things right. He's 340. So yeah. So 340, 340, 360, and 3 Rune Sons, 320 each. Yeah, so that's going to be 2,000 points. So that's your army. You get double prayer. You get the +1 to wound roll. You get the other one, which is the all Magma Drops within range, get a bonus. So yeah, you can do a cool army with that. If you wanted to unlock Warlord, get more artifacts, you could take drop 1 Magma Drop, like a Rune Sun or something, put a unit of Battle Line in, and then 2 foot heroes. I think you might be able to do that for 320 points. I think there's probably enough cheap heroes to do that, or you just drop one of the priests and do it that way, and then you just buy 2 heroes. So yeah, pretty cool. Then you got the Auric Rune Father on foot, so 6 wounds, movement 4, 4 up save. I think pretty much everything's movement 4. He obviously got no inch mark on there. I don't know why, but the throwing axe is exactly the same on everyone. I'm not going to go through it. So it's 8-inch range, 4s, 1 run, 1 damage. So there you go. So he's got 3 attacks with latchkey. It's the same as the guy on the mount. So he's got a retinue. So at the start of the first battle round, for someone who takes the first turn, you can pick one Auric half guard or half guard berserk unit on 2B. It's retinue. Before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to this unit, instead of making a ward roll for a wound or mortal wound that would normally be allocated to this unit, if this unit is within 3 of this retinue, you can roll a dice. On a 1-2, the wound or mortal wound is allocated to the unit as normal. On a 3+, the wound or is allocated to the unit's retinue. If the retinue has a ward, you can make a ward roll. So, bounce wounds on a 3+ to your berserkers. They get a ward save if there's a hero nearby. Bish, bash, bosh. It's protection. Okay? So, Dauntless Assault. After this unit has fought in the combat phase for the first time, if its retinue has not yet fought, and it's within 3 of an enemy unit, it's wholly within 12 of this unit, the unit can fight immediately. Okay, pretty good. So you get double activation. And he's got the Lord of the Lodge. Again, once per battle, start your combat phase, pick 1 for any unit on the battlefield, unleash the Wrath of Grimnir, add 1 to the attacks of melee weapons for Fyreslayers while they're wholly within 12. So you can't, even if you have multiple Rune Fathers, you can't use this more than once per battle, but it's a once per battle, 12-inch, everyone gets +1 attack. Pretty strong, particularly if you've got a big unit of half-guard berserkers near you, because that's going to hit really hard. And again, it's not a command ability, so it doesn't cost you anything, it's just done, it's just activated. And it does say start of your combat phase, so you can't do it in your opponent's go. Just little nuance there. Auric Rune Son, so he's basically the guy on foot that's on the Magmadroth. So he again has the retinue, and he's got the Vying for Glory, which is exactly the same. So same weapon profile. He's just on foot, 5 wounds, 4 up save. So he's basically exactly the same. I should tell the points, shouldn't I? So points wise, the Rune Father on foot is 125, and the Rune Son is 80. So a very cheap hero if you want to unlock some cheap hero. I mean, the Rune Father for 125 is a bargain for his combat profile. Then you've got the Auric Rune Master, 6 wounds, 4 up save, got a throwing axe. He's got the staff, 2 attacks, 4s, 3s, 1 random damage D3. If he's in the Fyreslayer, he knows all the prayers, which is good. At the start of your hero phase, if your general is within 3 inches of a Rune Masters, you get 1 command point, so you get command point generation. He's got a prayer, which is Volcano's Call. That's a value of 3 in a range of 18. If he's carrying the runic icon, you can reroll the chant roll, pick 1 terrain, and visible to the chanter, roll a dice for each one within 1 inch of that terrain for each 6. That model suffers 1 mortal wound. In addition to a next hero phase, the terrain feature blocks visibility like a wildwood. So it's model, not unit. So you can, if you've got a big unit of infantry, which aren't very prevalent in the game at the moment, but if they did and they're on it, then you could do that. Yeah, I mean, he knows all the things, and he gets a command point generation. And the fact he's only 125 points is still very cheap. The heroes are very cheap. You've got the Rune Smiter, which is the guy that's on the Magmadroth. He has the Magmaric tunneling ability. And I think he's 135. So again, fairly good to get Alpha Strike. If you're playing a Droth army and you wanted to unlock Warlord, he'd be quite a good pick, because he allows you to also then maybe tunnel a Magmadroth. So instead of setting this unit up, you can place it to one side so it's underground. Instead of setting up another Fyreslayer unit, you can place it to one side and say it will join in the underground. The end of your movement phase, you can set this up anyone that's battlefield 9 from enemy units, then set up this unit that join it wholly within 12, more than 9 from enemy units. He's got Runic Empowerment, which is the +1 to wound rolls, which is the same as the guy on the Magmadroth, so he's basically the same. I say, like, a lot of these things are just the guy on foot. He's exactly the same. He's got an extra ability with the tunneling, which is quite useful, especially in an army that's slow. So yeah, he's really good. 135. We got the Flamekeeper, who is the new hero. So he's got 4 attacks from the Brazier Axe. Freeze, run 1, damage 2. 5 wounds, 4 up save. He's got the Master Flame rune. So when this unit is set up, place a d6 beside it with the 1 facing up. Each time a friendly Fyreslayer model was slain within 12, increase the value of the dice by 1 to a maximum of 6. Once per turn at the start of the combat phase, if the value of the dice between it is a 6, you can say he will draw on the power of the runes. Pick a friendly Auric Halfguard, Berserker, or Volkite Berserker within 12 and apply one of the following effects to the unit, then change the value back to 1. Each effect ends the end of the phase. So 6 up ward save. If slain and not yet fought, the model can fight before it's removed from play. Grimnose Resolve. Units within 12 and enemy, not within 3 of enemy units. That unit has not run or retreated in the same turn it can use it to charge. Add 1 to the damage of the unit's melee weapon. So it's a lot of words. It's a lot of things that need to come off to work, but you could play around it. I just think it's too much. If this, that, then, and the timing, like, you know. So at the start of the combat phase, you need to have lost 6, well, basically 5 models within range to be on a 6. So if you haven't lost 5 models and you lose them in the combat phase, you won't have the buff for that combat phase. You could have the next phase, but I kind of feel like it is once per turn, so you could play around it. If you're playing it shooting, they probably will kill 5. I mean, your models have 2 wins each, and they're kind of like, you're not going to have many. But it could be impactful over the game. You know, a big blob that he's next to, and then every combat phase you're getting a buff, like the extra damage. You know, it could come in. I think he's okay. He's 90 points, so he's cheap enough not to be like, out of him and a Rune Son, I'll probably take him, because at least he's got another thing that could happen. Then you've got the Battlesmith. He's a totem. I mean, so is the Rune Flamekeeper for command point issues. So that's quite useful. 4 attacks, freeze, run 1, damage 2. So again, he's exactly the same combat profile. But he has got the icon of Grimnir. So friendly 5 units wholly within 12 have a ward save of 6 up, which is just nice. It's a nice flat increase. And you don't have to activate it. Once per battle in your hero phase, you can pick 1 unit of the battlefield to with this ability to plant the icon. If you do, until the start of your next hero phase, you have a 5 up ward instead of a 6 up. This is quite good. I think it's nice if you're, you know, it's passively on. You get into board position on the objectives. You plump your icon down. You could even give up a double turn if you're playing around that. If he issues rally, you can return 1 slain model to the unit that receives the command for each 4 up instead of 6. That's huge. Particularly if people don't want to fight you because you hit hard and they retreat from you, and then you go, right, okay, well, I'll block my men back on forwards. That's massive. So he's really good. And he's 150 points, but I definitely think he's worth it. If you can take a foot hero, it for me it's him and the Tunnel Guy, or the guy who knows all the lords or the prayers. If you're playing into prayers, those 3 are particularly good. Obviously, like the Rune Father on foot's good if you don't want a Magmadroth, but I think he sits on a Magmadroth better than anything else, so I'd probably play around him on a Magmadroth. But it doesn't mean to say, look, I know like a lot of people, there was a lot of criticism when the Fury of the Deep box dropped and they saw another Fyreslayer foot hero, and everyone was like, well, really? And it's like, but he's still useful. I mean, if I was running, and I think this is the problem, you only have 6 slots and there's a lot of heroes, so some of these aren't going to make the cut. The Rune Son on foot, I don't see, unless you want a cheap hero for a formation. I can't see it. So you've got the Grime Berserkers, 4 attacks, freeze, rend 2, damage 2, 6 wounds, 4 up armor save, and then the combat phase, if it's been 3 of an enemy, it hasn't fought more than once. On a 2+, it can fight again. So it can fight twice, and also when it dies, it can fight again. You've got the Oaths. It's pretty cool. He's 105 points. He's not a hero. So in terms of he is a hero, so he can have artifacts, but he's not a leader. So he doesn't take up leader slots, which is quite good because the hero slots, leader slots, I should say, are in high demand. And the fact that these guys are still heroes, but they're not leaders, allows you to have this kind of Gotrek style hero with doing heroic actions and all this other stuff, but he doesn't use up one of your 6 slots. It's the same with the Doomseeker. Originally, when I recorded this, I missed that, so I'm just re-recording it. yeah, really good. And the Doomseeker has 3 attacks, freeze, rend 1/1 damage. If he's taken a wound, he gets +1 damage. If he's taken more than 1 wound, he gets +2 damage. And if he dies and he fights again, then he gets to do it with 3. Now, that he only gets to do that if he basically picks an enemy and he swears to destroy it. And if he's within 3 of that and he's not fought, he can fight again. And if he's killed by that unit, if he's within 3 of that when he's destroyed, he can fight it. So he's like a cut price Grime Berserker with the potential to have increased damage. He doesn't have the rend. It's like he's 85 points. He's a lot cheaper. Again, he's a hero, not a leader. So he doesn't take up any slots. You can still give them artifacts. Obviously, the Grime Berserker is slightly better as more consistent. The Doomseeker for 85 points, though, is a great slot in if you've got like a couple points left over. You've not got enough for a unit and you've maxed your hero slots. Yeah, really, really solid. So I would say they're good options. And we might see them play because of that removal of the leader keywords. You're not locking out your other essential priests because the prayers in this book are super strong. The invocations are really good. Yeah, so you might see play. And you don't really see them at much anymore at the moment. And even with the Broken Realms update, when the Grime Berserkers got the oaths, you didn't see much either. So now that they're not leaders, and they don't take up your hero spots, then you might see them. So yeah, okay, not too bad at all. So hopefully we'll see some on the table. Yeah, and that's the Grime Berserker and the Doomseeker. Then we're coming to the end of the War Scrolls. So we've got the Chosen Axes. So this is the Underworld Warband. So again, you've got basically a Rune Father. He is in Vostarg Lodge, so it's not like you have a choice on Lodge. He's got a latchkey, Dauntless Assault. It basically allows him to fight his retinue, and he's got the retinue rule with the Chosen Axes. Honestly, I just don't see you taking these. I mean, he hasn't got the cool command ability. Yeah, he's got a good axe and he's got a cool weapon. You know, the Chosen Axes are pretty mediocre. You can unleash Berserk Fury. You can fight when it's removed from play, but normal Volkites can do that. Add 1 to the attacks if it's made a charge. I mean, they're just, yeah. I mean, I think they're 180 points for both, so they're not expensive, but yeah, I don't see it. It's more of a flavor choice if you like the models. Now we're into the normal units. So we have got Halfguard, Auric Halfguard, which I mean 4/2 wins 5 up save. They've got the 18 range 2-shot Magma Pike, 4s freeze, 1 rend 1 damage. If the modified hit roll for a shooting attack is a 6, you subtract 1 inch from the target's move until the end of your opponent's next turn. This ability cannot reduce the unit's move below half. So it's okay, but you're probably taking, let's say you've got a unit of, I mean, how many points are these? These are Auric Halfguard. That's all got the same name. Sorry, you have to bear with me. So these are not battle line, unless your Hermdar and the army general is a priest. Oh, and Halfguard Berserkers are battle line if you've got an Auric Rune Father as your general, which you probably will. So Auric Halfguard at 125 points for 5. So if you've got 5 of them, there's 10 shots, probably 1 or 2 inches off max, unless you spike 6s. So I don't see that being that impactful. It's a short range anyway. It's not a particularly good attack. It's 4s freeze, 1 rend 1 damage. Could be good on Unleash Hell because in the whole army's got fire still. Throwing axes, they don't have rend on the units, they only on the heroes. So I don't know. Maybe you take a unit of these. They don't really have they can be a retinue, so they can do the bounce wounds if you want to protect your hero. I believe they can anyway. So then you've got the Halfguard Berserkers, which were like the auto include flavor of the month, amazing things. They're 160 for 5, quite expensive. But they've got 2-inch reach, which is important. 2 attacks, freeze, 1 rend damage 2. If they take the broad axe, or 2 attacks, freeze, no rend 1 damage. If they take the flame strike pole axe, but if they do that and they roll a 6 to hit, they do 2 mortal wounds in addition. So I think odds are the Flame Strike Poleaxe is probably better, purely because you're going to roll lots of dice, you're going to roll sixes, you're going to do mortal wounds, they cut straight through armor. Yes, it's lower damage, but it's an addition. So if you pop a couple sixes, it's going to odds out be better. So I think someone below in the comments can tell me the math if you want to do it and tell me which is the best one statistically. I personally like stuff that can deal mortal wounds because it gets around so much stuff in the game that has good armor saves, all out defense, that swing the odds. The other one's damage 2 flat, which seems great, but they both hit on freeze and freeze. One's got a rend of 1, which to be honest, you don't need to worry about. And the Flame Strike Poleaxes, if you do the gold rune for +1 rend or +2 rend, if you get lucky, can still be good. So I would say that I would probably lean to the Flame Strike Poleaxes. But again, it's entirely up to you. So into the last few bits. So the Volkite Berserkers. So these are your humble battle line. So they've actually got 2 different points. So the ones with Fire Steel Hound Axes are 170, and the ones with Sling Shields are 160. So they've got 2 different profiles. So they're 2 wounds, 5 up save, bravery is 7, movement of 4, both the same. Obviously, the hand axes are the same. Then you've got the Fyreslayer hand axes, 2 attacks, freeze, no rend, 1 damage. They basically have a Carl, add 1 to your attacks. Musician, add 1 to charge rolls, which is nice because there's a couple of ways to add charge rolls. So I think you can get up to +4. Then you've got Berserk Fury. Once a battle at the start of the combat phase, you can say the unit will unleash its Berserk Fury. If you do until the end of the phase, if a model is slain, it can fight before it's removed. So that's the thing I was talking about. Whirlwind Destruction, add 1 to the attacks if it charged. So that's the ones with hand axes. They tend to do a bit more damage on the charge, fight multiple times. And then you've got the Sling Shield with a 4-up save. These guys are actually cheaper. You get 10 of them for 160, so that's 20 wounds. That's less than 10 points a wound, which is generally a good metric to look at. And the Volkite Berserkers with hand axes, you get 10 of them, so that's 20 wounds for 170. So actually, that's quite a lot of wounds for points. 4-up armor save, that's good. They've still got a ranged attack, which, is just going to chip. They've got 1 attack, freeze, and they've got 1 attack, freeze, falls with a rend if they've got the war pick. Okay, so you get the choice of the pick or the axe. Much of a muchness, I think getting the extra rend and losing the wound roll, I think I'll probably just keep Fire Steel hand axes for simplicity because they're there to be survival, not really to do damage. Still got the Berserk Fury, and they've got the Bladed Sling Shield. After this unit makes a charge, pick any unit within 1, roll a dice for each model in this unit. For each 6, they take a mortal wound. So you've got a little bit of mortal wound poke. So if you want defense, you take shields. If you want counter attack, you take the hand axes. I think the shields will see more play. They're slightly cheaper. Generally, you want to unlock your battle line, and you just want stuff that's going to exist and stay on objectives. So yeah, I like the Volkite Berserkers. And then we're into the your incantations. Just get that out of the way. So you've got the Molten Infernoth, which is what we were talking about earlier when you take the artifact and the guy dies. So it's summoned with an answer of 4, range of 12. Set only within 1, more than 1 inch from all models, terrain, invocations, and ender spells. After it's set up, it can immediately move 2d6. In addition, at the start of each of their subsequent hero phases, the incantation is still the battlefield. It can move 2d6. After it's moved, the commanding player rolls 12 dice for each unit within 3. On each 6, they take a mortal wound. If the roll to determine how far the invocation moved was a double, that unit takes d3 mortal wounds for each 6 to the 1. This invocation is removed from play. Okay, so, and at the end of the phase, this moves if Fyreslayers are not affected. So, yeah, so basically, if you roll a double, it's removed afterwards, but it does extra damage. Pretty good. Then we've got the Runic Firewall. So it's a prayer that's answered on 3 in a range of 18. Set up the invocation wholly within range visible more than 1. Same wording. Models cannot move across or through this invocation unless they have Magadroth keyword or can fly. So this is quite good because you can literally block your people being able to charge you. Because if you basically don't leave enough space between the wall and your Magadroth, and your they can't fit their base that side, they can't actually go over it. Even if they can fly, they can't actually land because there's not enough space, and they can't go within 3 of you unless they charge. And if they can't put their base there, then so you could set this up a little bit of a pre-measuring where you're going to move to, where you're going to put it. You could stop him charging you and ensure you get the charge. So at the start of each charge phase, the commanding player can pick one Fyreslayer unit holding within 12 and draw on its power. So it's an optional thing. Roll a dice. On 1 to 5, the unit has a 6-up ward. On a 6, has a 4-up ward. And it's removed from play. So you can basically put the wall down, move up behind it. Then your next go, you can start up each phase as well. So like if they shoot you and you're like, I want to get a ward save. So it's a really good invocation. It's really, really strong. And I think this one is only 55 points, so it's really good. The Inferno is 70. I really like the wall. I think they could see some play, honestly. I think there's some good tactical play around that. Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. Then we've got the Zaragron Flame Spitter. So it's some amounts of value, free range of 6. Holy Rune range, visible, blah, 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 same rules. Magma Blast at the start of the commanding player's shooting phase. If there are any Fyreslayer priests within 6, the commanding player can pick one enemy unit within 24 and roll 12 dice. Add 1 to the rune if it has 10 or more models. Add 2 if it's got 20 models for each 6 to take a mortal wound. If the commanding player rolls 4 or more unmodified 6s, it's removed. So it basically gives you a volcano that your priest can then launch molten bolts at the enemy. Again, that could be really good in the meta if there's suddenly like big units of infantry, like, you know, like witch elves become prevalent. We've seen that Daughters of Cain, you know, might come back into the fore. They've done come well recently, you know, big unit of witches, or even like 20 snakes for 4 up mortal wounds. It's a massive range, 24 inches plus 6 inches from the invocation. You know, and you're gonna have a priest within 6 because you've summoned it within 6, and you can move, but then you can still be within 6, and it's a huge range. So you should better hit what you want. 4 ups do mortal wounds on a unit that's got 20 models. So if someone's got a big unit of 20 bow snakes or something like that, it's just it does 4. You know, you should kill. You know, you're gonna do like what 10 mortal wounds. You probably kill from that. You'll end up killing like 4 or 5 snakes out of it. So it's pretty good. And there's always that potential to spike damage. You know, if you roll well. I like it. It's only 55 points. So I think with a Fyreslayer army, like adding the damage range threat from this, the Inferno, the wall, what the wall can do in terms of ward saves, there's some good play here. And I think priests are really important. And obviously, speaking of priests and how important they are, you've got the Magmic Battleforge. So after Terry's set up, you set this faction terrain, Holy in your territory, free from all objectives of terrain. It's impassable, so you cannot move over it unless you can fly, and you cannot finish a move on it. Then I've gone too far. Then we've got the Molten Blessing. Start your hero phase, you can pick one friendly Fyreslayer priest within 6 of this terrain feature to control its magmic energies. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to chanting rolls for priests within 18. So obviously I talked about some of the prayers being on 4s, you can do them on 3s or 2s. You cannot use the terrain features Molten Blessing and its Spending Forge in the same phase. So the other thing you can do is you can blow its load once per battle, start the hero phase, you use its Molten Blessing ability. You can, instead of that, you can basically pick one friendly Fyreslayer priest to expend all its energy, so you need to have a guy stood next to it. If you do, until the start of your next hero phase, friendly Fyreslayer units on the battlefield have a ward of 6 up. So it gives you a 6-up ward across your whole army. Obviously, you've got the rune that can give you a ward save. You've got the wall that you can give a ward save to. So there is quite a lot of ways to get wards, and that's quite useful. So I think if I was playing a Magma Drop army, I'd still want a couple foot heroes. Unlocked Warlord. I can have one chilling out by the forge, and he can do that. Right, I need a 6-up ward this turn. Bing, bash, bosh. Do it. Pop. Done. So yeah, I think very good. I mean, obviously, you don't cost you any points, and you get it for free. It can also, with that and the wall, you could make a little bastion if you really wanted to camp against an alpha. If they give you the first turn, and you know they're going to come at you, you can do something like that. So yeah, good. So overall, points wise, you've got the 2 battle line units, which is the Volkite Berserkers, 170, 160 respectively, both quite cheap. I think the bladed sling shields will win out as they're cheaper and they've got better armor save, so I like those a lot. Flamekeeper is 90. He's the new hero. You got Rune Father, Rune Master, and Rune Smiter all around 125, 135. Rune Sun at 80. I don't see him see much play. Battlesmith 150 is very good, but he's quite expensive. Lots of way to get 6-up wards in your army. The Chosen Axes, yeah, we'll move along from that. Then you've got the Magmadroth, so you've got the Rune Father on Magmadroth 360, the Rune Smiter 340, the Rune Sun on Magmadroth 320. Auric Halfguard 125 can be battle line if the general is a Fyreslayer priest, or if you're Hermdar. I've misread that. I thought you had to have both, but it's either. Then you also have a Doomseeker 85, Grime Berserker 105, cheap combat heroes. Then you've got Halfguard Berserkers, 5 of those for 160 points. They are battle line if general is a Auric Rune Father. So yeah, pretty good. I mean, Rune Father's a great general. So the Infernoff 70, the Firewall 55, the Flamekeeper 55, all great. Allies, cities, Karajan and Stormcast. Obviously, you take Duradin allies. You can take the trait to give them the Fyreslayer rune effects. Stormcast dragons are just going to be there. And people might talk about long strikes, but I think they need to become good with Holy Command. So I think the fact you've got access to Stormcast Eternal units as allies really makes up for the shortcomings in the book where you only have infantry and Magmadroths and a bit of crappy shooting. They've got quite the prayers, and the priests have been really bumped up, in my opinion, in this. I think they're really good. I think the actual invocations are decent, and the damage output from them can be quite impactful. I do like the more roundness of the book and the fact you'll see a bit more variation in Fyreslayer armies. I think that Hermdar was too powerful than in AOS 3 because of the command point stuff. It just wasn't seeing play. I like the fact some of their once per battle abilities are not command abilities, so they can be done. So yeah, that's the Fyreslayer Battletome. Sorry, it's just me reading at you. But obviously Byron's not here. He has actually messaged me, and he's going to jump on record now, and we're going to do the Paul Buckler list show separately. So I'll do a separate video, and also talk about my Deepkin army list that we played a practice game in. So I'll put that video up today as well if I can get it edited in time. So it'll be up later tonight. Thank you very much for supporting us watching both the IDNF, hopefully, and the Fyreslayer show. If you do like this content and you enjoy, our insights into the books, we don't just want to read the rules. We want to give you a little bit of insight about why it's good or how you could use it or what combos you could use. Please like and subscribe. I know it's kind of a bit of a cheesy thing on YouTube, but it does help people find. But for me, even if you don't want to do that, then the best thing for me is just share it with a friend, share it in your WhatsApp groups, just talk to your friends about it because it helps us get more reach. Join our community, go on the Discord. We have a Patreon, which will be getting some more work done recently. I'm just getting the merchandise finalized for the people that have been joined up from last June when we launched it. So thank you to those people that have been supporting us. And there's also YouTube membership, which gives us a little bit of income, but or you can buy us coffee. So thanks to everyone who has supported the show over the last year. It's been a really good journey for us since the launch of AOS 3, and should be some more regular content. I had a little bit of a break over Christmas period and into January because I was still doing some real life stuff with my house and getting the studio done and getting the house decorated, and my partner and her sons moved in. So lots of real life stuff rearing its head. Now that's all done and dusted, hopefully we'll have more content. Me and Byron did play 2 games and recorded some time-lapse footage of those in the studio last week, so I want to try and get that into some sort of format. Once I get a little bit more settled with the gaming space, I'll try and record more games. I'm not going to go down the route of doing full battle reports, because it's a lot of work, and there's some people that are sort of dedicated to that, but doing a time-lapse and talking about learning points and abridged games where you can see what happened during the course of the game and talk about key moments, I think that's really useful for improving people's play and understanding what things can do, which is what we try and do on this channel. So anyway, I'm rambling. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the Fyreslayers, pre-order them today and click the link below to support us, or the IDNF Deepkin. I really like the Deepkin. I'm actually working on Deepkin army myself. I love the models. I think the Fyreslayer book is great, in terms of if you're into them, you're going to have a lot of fun. There's variation. You're going to have more lists to play with. How competitive it is, I think it can remain relevant because of the ally pool. I've seen it do very well in playtest games. Is it a Stormcast, Dragon Spam, Cities, Seraphon, Top Edge? No. It probably sits around A-B tier, depending on your build. I think it's a good army for beginners, because you haven't got a lot of stuff to worry about. It kind of takes the magic phase out. You've got prayers. You can introduce that stuff if you want. And if you've got some Stormcast already from your Dominion, you can put them in as allies, so get your army on the table quicker. So yeah, I would say if you enjoy the aesthetic of Fyreslayers and you think they're nice models, then by all means, if your friend bought Fury of the Deep, then you can always trade your Deepkin for their Fyreslayer half, and then you've got to start up an army. It's quite a small elite army. They're fairly easy to paint. It can look very effective. You do stuff like lava basing. There's tons of great tutorials out there. So if you're into Fyreslayers, and hopefully this has got you a little bit excited about writing some lists, I'm gonna, on the next show, I'm gonna record with Byron shortly. We are going to talk about a competitive list that one of the playtesters have been using. So make sure you check that out later tonight when we premiere it, and I'll put the link in the cards at the end. So yeah, stay tuned. But thank you very much for watching, and hopefully the solo format wasn't too painful for you guys, and I didn't sound too wooden, so hopefully it was okay. Thanks very much, and I'll catch you all in the next one, hopefully with my co-host back in tow. Cheers, guys.